Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I hope you all had a wonderful week, because I know that I certainly have. And before we would go and get things started, there are actually some things that I would like to go and make a quick announcement about, because as you guys probably know, this week was my birthday week, more specifically on October 5th, which this year was landed on a Monday. And during that time, I decided, oh, we got a subscriber, by the way. Thank you very much, Yummy119, for the subscription. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. Yes, this week was my birthday, and on that day, I decided to go and do several announcements of some new things that I have introduced that hopefully will enhance your enjoyment of my presence on the internet, and some special surprises as well. And maybe some of you have seen it, you may recall what they were, but just in case if you have missed out on them, I'm gonna go and repeat these announcements right here. So, first of all, the first major thing that I have revealed during my birthday is that I will be selling masks. Yes, more specifically, I'm gonna be selling the AniMat's Seal of Approval mask and also the orange fedora mask. I decided to go and put them up on my shop, the AniMat's gift shop on Teespring. You can actually go and get them right now. They are perfectly available. And on a side note, by the way, if you're going to go and get the AniMat's Seal of Approval mask, they actually do come in several different colors if you wish. So there is that nice little option right there. And they're not really that expensive as well. I did put them down at a reasonable price. It says here that the face mask is $16 Canadian, but I did put it down to just to average the US price, it would be $11.99. And considering that it is on Teespring, for every dollar that you buy every mask, they will go and give $1 to charity. So at least there is that one good thing about it. So that's just a new thing that I decided to go and introduce, because as you guys probably know, I am a strong advocate for wearing masks, and I am highly aware that we are all in this together and that we must work together in order to continue following the guidelines, following the rules, in order to make sure that we can minimize the damage of the pandemic, and hopefully soon we can return to put things back to normal. So if you guys are interested in buying either of the masks, then all you have to do is go to teespring.com/stores/animats-gift-shop. So there is that little option there. But then I also did a second big announcement, and this one is for the people who are on my Patreon. And if you are on Patreon right now, then you can go and have a very early sneak peek of part 11 of Animation Look Back Walt Disney Animation Studios Plus, in which I will be covering some of the movies that have been released in the early 2000s. These include Atlantis: The Lost Empire, Lilo and Stitch, Treasure Planet, and Brother Bear. So from those movies, it will be one massive and very fascinating part. It was a while that I had that in production and finally got that ready to go and show you all. However, if you are going to go and check it out right now on Patreon, just a little bit of a heads up is that not everything is complete. The only thing that is missing is the animations. And Logan does have a couple of great ideas that he's going to bring out. So I will be giving you a bit of a heads up of when he's going to have those animations ready. And for those of you who are wondering when this is going to be coming out publicly for everyone to see on YouTube, the release date is going to be for next week on October 16th. So mark your calendars there just in case. But if you cannot wait to go and check out part 11, you can go on my Patreon. You can go on my Patreon at patreon.com/animat, and just a minimum payment of $2 a month, and you'll be able to go and check out the brand new part. And then finally, there is one more big announcement that I have made. And this is something that a lot of people have been asking me to do for a very long time, and it's only now that I decided, you know what, let's go ahead and do this. I finally decided to open up an Instagram account. Yes, this is the third account that I decided to go and open up for social media, or at least to have a public account. This is going to be no different than what I already have right now with my Facebook page and my Twitter account, so they're going to be the same thing as those, but now you can go and add me onto Instagram. So if you want to go and follow me there, my tag is AniMat505. So these were all the major announcements that I have made for my birthday as a major way to celebrate and my presents to you. So hopefully you guys can go and enjoy the masks, the very early sneak peek of part 11, and also my Instagram account. So, yeah, I will be repeating them again later on when I'm going to do the big update vlog on YouTube later this month. But this is just to go and just to, again, repeat the big announcements, at least just to, just to say it on my podcast. So, with that said, I think it is now time that we're going to jump onto the stories of this week. I think we should go and start out this episode. So, let me go and ask the chat wall, are we all ready to get things started with today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you ready? Oh, and by the way, thank you all so much for the birthday wishes. They are very nice, and I will keep them at heart. All right, so it looks like everybody is prepared. That is great to hear. So now, with all that said and done, let's go ahead and get things started. And with our first story that I have for you today, this was something that has been long rumored for a while. People have speculated that Disney might be doing this. We have waited a little bit, but considering how things are with the pandemic right now, it looks like this decision was pretty much inevitable. And now it is official, folks. Soul is gonna be coming. Yes, close all the tabs, thank you. Yes, folks, Soul is finally coming to Disney+. Disney has finally decided that instead of releasing it in theaters, which was supposed to be scheduled to come out on November 20th, they decided to skip the theater experience entirely and just put Soul on Disney+ and have it be released on December 25th, on Christmas Day. So Disney decided that they'll announce our Christmas gift very early and say that we are going to get a Pixar film. And not just any Pixar film, a Pete Docter directed Pixar film. So this is one that I know that a lot of people were highly anticipating. In fact, some people could say it is the most anticipated animated film of 2020. So instead of experiencing it in the theaters, now we are going to be getting it in 2020, but only on Disney+. But in a similar fashion to Mulan, keep in mind that not all the countries around the world have Disney+. And for those countries, Disney has stated that they will be releasing them in theaters for those countries, but at a later date, so probably sometime in early 2021. But I know that you guys probably have one massive question about Soul, and that is regarding when is that, when it's going to be released. Do you have to pay for anything? Is it going to be exactly like Mulan, where you have to come in with a premium fee before even seeing Soul on Disney+? And the answer to that is, believe it or not, no. Disney is just going to be putting Soul on Disney+, and that's it. You don't have to go through a paywall or anything like that. As long as you have a subscription to Disney+, then you'll be able to go and check out Soul. In fact, I'm going to go and give you proof of this by reading a little bit of my source here on Variety, as it states, Unlike Mulan, which released on Disney Plus for an extra $30, Soul will be available to Disney Plus's 60.5 million subscribers at no extra cost. The streaming service costs $6.99 per month. And on top of that, we do have a couple of quotes I would like to read here. The first one, of course, coming from the CEO of Disney, Bob Chapek, as he states, "We are thrilled to share Pixar's spectacular and moving Soul with audiences direct to Disney Plus in December. A new original Pixar film is always a special occasion, and this truly heartwarming and humorous story about human connection and finding one's place in the world will be a treat for families to enjoy together this holiday season." And on top of that, we also got another quote coming from one of the directors, of course, Pete Docter himself, who is also the chief creative officer of Pixar, as he states, "The world can be an exhausting and frustrating place, but it's also filled with unexpected joys, even in seemingly mundane things. Soul investigates what really is important in our lives, a question we're all asking these days. I hope it will bring some humor and fun to people at a time when everyone can surely use that." So, of course, that is currently the major thing that is happening, and probably the big thing that animation fans and movie fans have been talking about is the fact that Soul is going to be skipping theaters for Disney Plus. And just like I stated before, this is honestly really no big surprise, actually. I believe we all saw it coming. Like, even when I said that there have been some long rumors about it for months, people have speculated that Disney would inevitably just move Soul onto Disney Plus in case things really don't get better with the pandemic. And as you could probably tell, things are really not getting better with the pandemic, so it's pretty much for the best that they would go and move this entire movie onto Disney Plus. Yes, it can be a little bit disappointing that they might not get some financial gains out of it. It might not be profitable for Disney, but then again, it's probably the best thing they could do, because it is true when you do think about it. Soul was supposed to be released in June, and they have already heavily delayed it to November, even to the point of delaying another Disney animated feature to fit Soul in that area. They can't really delay it even further, so this is the other best option they could have. This is the best way that they could actually go and release a movie that has been already completed for several months. They can't just leave it hanging and leave all their other animated films hanging. But I will say, even with the pandemic, I will say that isn't even a major factor onto why Disney currently has no choice right now onto why they had to move Soul to Disney Plus. And I can give you 3 different factors onto why, other than the pandemic, of course. Number 1, it's regarding the movie theaters. Even if they're all, like, even let's say we're in a situation all of them are open during the pandemic, even at that though, they would still be in a very limited capacity, and it would be much tougher for Disney to go and actually collect some revenue out of it. Not to mention that the amount of people that actually do want to go back into the movie theaters just to go and check out the latest movie, they are in the very significant minority. They're just a small group of people, a very vocal minority, but still a minority nonetheless. Most people, quite literally, wouldn't want to be caught dead in the movie theaters. So even at that, it's not necessarily a very profitable option to go and put out your film on the big screen, especially when Tenet is a perfect example onto why it's not really a perfect time. Yeah, it's doing very well and already making hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office, but when you only look at the domestic gross, it's really going terrible. Like, a lot of people have been saying that it's been getting some abysmal results. And that's kind of the reason why you do see plenty of other features as well heavily delaying their movies, even recently with No Time to Die as well. So there really isn't much of a point to really put out your movie on the big screen as well. So that is reason number 1. Now, reason number 2 is because Disney does not want to be in massive trouble as much as they already are right now. Like, Disney wants to make sure they want to find the best option in order to keep everyone safe and at the same time not be in massive controversy, because let's be honest, with Mulan, it was already enough that they got some massive heat. In fact, just recently, and this was something that I've just discovered today, just before even entering into this podcast, that Disney is not apologizing to the credit that they have given to the Chinese government that have been putting up concentration camps for Uyghur Muslims, I believe. I might have mispronounced that, but you get the idea. Like, it's the area in China where Disney filmed that also held Muslim concentration camps, and you could already tell, like, the massive controversy in there. So already Disney is in massive heat, and they already got a taste of massive controversy and backlash because of this pandemic, because of back in July when they opened up Walt Disney World, and they got massive hate for it. And even nowadays, apparently the amount of people that are going back to places like Walt Disney World and Universal are starting to grow more and more significant, and even already reaching max capacity, where like, you look at the photos and people are already saying that it's near impossible to be social distancing because there's already a good chunk of people that are already there, and it's not really a pleasant sight. And Disney already has gotten a massive backlash for not handling the coronavirus properly. So they don't want to try to add any more onto the amount of trouble that they're already in, not to mention, like, not just from, like, a PR perspective, but also in a financial perspective as well, because I've already talked about the reasons why it's not really financially viable nowadays to put up your new big movie on the big screen. But on top of that as well, they don't want to be in trouble by putting up Soul on the big screen and get more backlash from people to try to encourage getting a whole bunch of random strangers to get together, crammed up in a small little room during a freaking pandemic just to go and watch a movie on the big screen. They want to try to avoid that, along with plenty of other major studios that want to avoid that major scenario as well. So at this point, the only option that they would have is put it up on Disney Plus. And even, like, when looking back into the financial standpoint, currently Disney Plus seems to be one of their biggest cash grabs. It's one of the very few things they have left that is actually financially viable for them, the only major source of revenue that they could find, which is why that they are putting a whole bunch of their films onto Disney Plus instead of the big screen. And this is not just with the Mulan remake, which is the most notable one, but with several other features as well that they plan to put up on the big screen, but they had to go and make a massive change of plans. Rather it be the one and only Ivan, the infamous Artemis Fowl, and of course the Hamilton movie, or at least the filmed stage play of Hamilton. So, like, they moved all these theaters, and so far they've been finding some pretty solid business, especially when Hamilton appeared and when Mulan appeared as well. So might as well go and do the same thing with Soul, so that it can also help gain more revenue, at least with one of the very few financially viable options that they would have left. So that is a massive reason number 2. And reason number 3, and this also connects a little bit to reason number 1, is the fact that, like, even if all the movie theaters would be open, it's not financially viable, as I already repeated on reason number 1. The thing is that right now, that's not really the case, since a whole bunch of movie theaters have already shut down in the first place, or at least temporarily shut down for the case of the pandemic. You've probably heard about the recent news that Cineworld, which is the company that has owned Regal Cinemas, the company that owns Regal Cinemas, they decided to go and temporarily close their more than 500 cinemas all around the world just to keep them financially secure, because they know that keeping their cinemas open is not really a great option, and it only leads them to lose more revenue than they would before. And at that point, it's not just, and I'm not talking about the ones that are just in the U.S., because, well, actually, there is a quote that I do need to read here, actually, to further prove that, again, on my source and Variety. It says, the news comes days after movie theater operator Cineworld, which owns Regal in the U.S., announces plans to temporarily shutter all 536 locations, citing the challenging theatrical landscape. Rivals AMC and Cinemark said they don't intend to close any U.S. venues. But even at that, even though those are still open, you might have a good bunch of them that are still up and running, are still in business and stuff like that. But you have to also factor in many of the cinemas from all around the world. And there are still a good bunch of them that actually do take COVID more seriously and are currently in lockdown because they are experiencing their second wave. And I can actually speak about this firsthand, considering that I am from Canada. And in Canada right now, we are in our second wave. And as it turns out, it's becoming a lot worse than in our first wave back in the spring of this year. So, as a result, both Ontario and Quebec, which are two of the hardest hit provinces so far of the coronavirus, they decided to go into a 28-day lockdown. They decided to go and close off many of the bars, many of the restaurants, and these also include many of the movie theaters as well. We can't even go to the cinemas because, well, they're all closed anyways because of this temporary lockdown. And we don't know if it is going to be 28 days or if it's going to last even longer, if it can even last throughout November as well. So there's not a whole lot of a point. And also, there is one very significant place that is also making a massive impact that the National Association of Theater Owners are stating that is the main cause, or at least they claim to be the main cause, but that's not really the point, that they say is the main reason why you see a lot of these movie delays and why it's not really viable right now to have theaters operating, and that is regarding New York. Because NATO right now, they actually have a very strong grudge against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, mainly because his response, in order to keep everyone safe and make sure the virus doesn't spread anywhere else, to make things more secure in the state of New York, that they want to go and that he would go and close down many different venues that are similar to theaters, or close down a good bunch of non-essential indoor places that would include movie theaters as well, or just theaters in general, considering that Broadway is pretty much empty and nothing is going on with that. And keep in mind, that is actually very significant and it truthfully does play a major factor as to why cinemas are not really operating as strong as they used to, or why Tenet is actually really bombing domestically at the box office, because one of the most important areas in terms of collecting box office revenue is actually New York. That and Los Angeles. But Los Angeles is slowly but surely opening up again, but New York is still remain closed. And right now, theater owners are very desperate for New York to go and reopen, to go and tell people that it's safe to come back to the theaters. In which I can understand Andrew Cuomo's justification for keeping them closed, because he does explain, hello guys, we're freaking closed right now, so there's no point in putting it back up. I'm just doing it to protect my people. You're just doing it just for the profits and everything like that. I'm sorry, but you guys are non-essential, so it doesn't really matter what happens to your business at this point. Now, at that point, though, it really shows that because New York is closed down, there really isn't much of a point to go into the movie theaters, or businesses in the movie theater industry, they're not as strong as they used to be, or they're not really holding up that well during this pandemic. So from there, those are the three major reasons as to why it is pretty obvious as to why Soul had no choice but to go and skip theaters. Because it's not really that financially viable anyways. Disney wants to avoid any form of backlash or try to pile up more backlash than they already have right now. And a whole bunch of theaters, or a bunch of significant theaters, are pretty much closed in the first place. So they don't really have an option. They can only do what's best for their PR, what's best for people, and what's best for their finances. And I will say this, though. I will say that, like, even though I do completely understand why they would have to go and do this, like, I'm not gonna lie, and there is a part of me that is a little bit sad about this. Like, there is a little bit of bad news coming from all of this, and I think it's safe to say, and I'm sure everyone has this sentiment, that it is too bad that we don't actually go and see a movie like Soul on the big screen, because so far from what we have seen from the trailers, this does look like a very beautiful movie, and considering that we do have people like Pete Docter involved as the director, or as one of the directors of this, it looks like it could be in line to become the next big major Pixar hit, somewhere like what we've recently gotten with something like Coco, or even Inside Out, which is a movie that everybody really does compare this to. So there is a little bit of that disappointment, because, like, yeah, this would have been beautiful to see on the big screen, but we won't have that opportunity. And I know this might sound a little bit insane, like, this might sound weird, and this might sound crazy from me, but I will say it also kind of sucks that we are getting this for free, that we're actually not paying for this. And I know it's weird, because, like, why complain about something that we're gonna get for free? Well, the thing is, I think it is safe to say that I would much rather pay $30 to go and watch Soul than I would pay $30 to look at the Mulan remake. You know, in a way, I could definitely tell from the trailers that there was a lot of hard work that was put into it. And in a way, I wish I could have spent, I wish I would have given my money somehow to Pixar to say thank you for your service, in a sense. Because in a way, that's like what you would say when you would go and buy a ticket to see a movie on the big screen. So it is too bad that I couldn't do that. But then again, it is for the best. And at this point, like, the pluses really do outweigh the minus, because not only are we getting a Pete Docter directed Pixar movie for free, but, well, actually, that's not what I wanted to say. Not only are we getting a Pixar movie for Christmas, but we are getting a Pete Docter directed Pixar movie for free on Christmas. That sounds like an amazing, that sounds like an amazing Christmas gift for everyone. So at that point, it's really hard to go and truly complain about something like this. And by the way, there is one more thing I would like to mention, though. There is one more comment that I would like to make, because I have shared this on social media. Like, when I first heard about this news, it's like, I knew that they would go and do this. And I shared it all around, like, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. And I would say that it is actually very interesting to see the reactions. And there is one thing that I would like to say to the film community. Something that I would like to talk about regarding moviegoers. And I just want to say that we really need to start keeping a careful eye on some certain moviegoers, because there's a lot of them who are at the point to be on, like, not entirely, but really start to get on the verge of really becoming anti-maskers. That they're pretty much ready to drop everything, to drop following the rules, just because they're so desperate to go and watch a movie on the big screen. And to further prove this, there's this one comment that I need to read to you guys as a bit of a warning, because a lot of people would feel that way. And by the way, I'm keeping everyone anonymous on this, so let me just go and share you this. So this is a comment that I found on social media, And like, this is a response to when I would share this post, like when I would comment about how Soul is being delayed to Christmas on Disney Plus. And this person actually commented, but it's Pixar, freaking Pixar. I guess if you can't beat them, join them. And I saw this comment, and I saw this, and like, I had to respond, because this is such a very thick-headed response, because obviously this person completely forgot about the fact that we are in a pandemic. We know why Soul is being delayed in the first place. So I had to pretty much tell him, like, yeah, I'm probably a little harsh and blunt about it, but I had to pretty much lay it out on explaining why this has to happen. I told the person, but we're in a pandemic. Your safety is more important than seeing a movie on the big screen. And then this person's response. This person's response. I would say that it has a value of, it definitely has a value of 2 oofs and 3 yikes. Like, just listen to this. Listen to what this individual has to say as a response to the fact that I told him, or told them, regardless of, this is what the person has to say to my response of the fact that we're in a pandemic. Dude, I don't care if we're in a situation as bewildering as a pandemic. So already right there, that is just one massive yikes. After almost several months of wearing a mask, social distancing, and washing our hands, those of us that actually follow the safety protocol deserves a bit of a break for living under these grueling conditions. Really, grueling conditions. Wearing a mask, social distancing, and washing your hands, you call that grueling? Well, like, I understand it's not as fun as it was before when we don't have to follow these, but calling them grueling is way too freaking exaggerated. Then the person would say, of course, that's not going to mean chucking our responsibilities out the window. That's essentially what you're asking for. Because the thing is, the virus does not take a break. So why should you go and take a break? That you cannot do both of them at the same time. It's either that you're chucking out your responsibilities out the window, or that you gotta follow the safety protocols. You gotta do one or the other, because you can't do freaking both. I can tell. Oh boy. Sorry about that. A bit of lunch wants to come back up, but it's like, no, you gotta stay back in. Anyways, where was I? Yes. As I was saying, but we cannot live in a world that is in a standstill. We, in addition to businesses, essential or not, like movie theaters, which movie theaters are a non-essential service. It is a luxury, by the way. We need to keep moving forward. Nothing can be accomplished if we just reside in a universe that is on pause. You know, that is a lot of words just to say that this person is just so desperate to get back to watching movies on the big screen and want to see specific movies on the big screen. And like I told you guys, and by the way, before I continue, I just want to make this one massive statement. I beg of you people, please do not go out of your way to go and try to search for this commenter and just to go and attack them for making a stupid response like this, alright? I condemn any form of harassment, and I condemn any form of bullying, and I will not tolerate that at all, okay? So even though this person is factually acting like a godforsaken idiot and completely ignoring the fact that we are in a situation that is as serious as a pandemic, please do not go out of your way to go and harass this individual. That's all I ask. So, and a major reason is because I want to keep this person anonymous as much as possible. So with that said, you can definitely tell right over here that this person, like, despite saying that, oh, they're trying to follow the guidelines and stuff like that, you can tell that they really are on the verge of becoming anti-maskers. That they've been trying to follow the rules for several months, but they're starting to have had it. But I would go and argue that technically, like, this person is saying that now they don't care that they're in a situation like a pandemic, because this person obviously never cared that we were in a situation like in a pandemic. This person obviously never cared or never even took this seriously, that we are in a deadly pandemic that has already killed about 1 million people all around the world. Not to mention already infecting like millions of people already. I think it has already reached the 10-digit mark of people that have been infected globally. And obviously this guy just doesn't seem to care. This individual already has their priorities to do whatever they want. Like, they want their priorities of doing non-essential activities to have that be more of a priority than just handling the virus, to go and follow protocols, and already trying to really antagonize it. This really is this message here, this commentary really is almost Trump-like. The way that they're showing a lot of impatience, and the way that they're portraying the safety protocols, like wearing a mask and washing your hands and social distancing. It's so grueling. It's so challenging. And honestly, I look at this and it's just, this is all one big ball of yikes. You could tell that this person, while not an anti-masker, not ready to go and fully believe in conspiracy theories, this obviously shows that this person is not taking the virus seriously and only cares about themselves and doing what they want, more so than trying to minimize the damage. This person only cares about themselves more so than the people around them. Like, they are ready to go to the movie theaters and risk getting risk actually catching the virus, along with spreading it around not only his community but also their loved ones as well. So at that point, you could tell that it's not just with this individual, but for many others as well. For many people who are so desperate for movie theaters to reopen and to see specific movies on the big screen, that they really are starting to be on the verge of becoming anti-maskers, to believe in anti-mask conspiracy theories, and pretty much be like an Orthodox Jew in New York and just take off their mask and burn it, which, by the way, was a real thing that actually happened recently, and it's honestly pretty weird. But with that said, like, this is something that we need to start keeping an eye on, because these are people that are starting to become anti-maskers because they're not getting what they want, because they're starting to be so desperate to go and check out movies on the big screen, and they want to have specific movies on the big screen, that they're with the more delays that are going to be happening, and I can guarantee you that there will be more delays that will happen, that they're showing a lot more impatience, and they're going to end up becoming reckless and pretty much unaware of their actions by forcing their way to put things back to normal, even if the job is not finished or anything like that. So this is just a little bit of a cautionary tale. And I know that there are going to be some people out there that want to comment about employees, like people working in cinemas. That's like a whole different stories. That's a whole different story right there. What I'm talking about is people who casually go to the cinema to watch a movie on the big screen. People who don't work in theaters, but like to go to movie theaters to watch movies on the big screen. Those are the people that I'm saying that you need to keep a watchful eye on, like this individual going on this rant, saying that they had enough of the virus or they had enough of following guidelines and just want to force their way to put things back to normal. Despite the fact that now things are starting to get worse, especially in plenty of other countries around the world, and even in the US, where it's still massively bad, where it is still the epicenter of the virus. So I just figured I need to put out this caution right there, and to keep an eye out on those individuals, because the sooner we call them out quickly, the sooner we have them back to normal, back into a mentally functioning state, so that they can care more about helping their community and keep fighting the fight, so that we can make sure we can actually minimize the damage of the virus. Because as much as this person is so desperate for a break from following the safety protocols, the only time when we can truly catch a break is when we have a vaccine for it that is effective and that is available to everyone. So that's the major thing. So overall, yes, it's a little bit sad that Soul won't be in theaters, but ultimately, it is actually for the best. And honestly, I do encourage the other movies, like the rest of the blockbusters coming in 2020, which I think it's only going to be Croods and Wonder Woman 1984. Like, those movies, they should do the same thing. They should also skip theaters and instead just either delay it, like what Wonder Woman would probably do, or put them on premium video on demand, like what would Croods probably do. So honestly, it really is for the best that Soul has to be on Disney+. And not only that, but we're pretty much safe at home, and we get to watch it for free on Christmas. So really, there's more plus than there is minuses at this point. Okay, so I think I managed to get that said and done. It is now time that we shall go and look into the chat wall. Now it's your turn to have your comment on this, and I would like to know, what do you think about Soul skipping theaters and being put on Disney+? Are you guys happy about it? Are you a little bit disappointed? Let me know what you all think. Okay. Now, oh boy, we got a lot of people putting up their comments on this. Let's see. I'm split about this decision. On one hand, I finally get to see Soul, but on the other hand, it's kind of sad that it's no longer going in theaters. It's like Pixar said, you know what, we can take this, we can't take this anymore. We're tired of being screwed over by the pandemic, so we're instead releasing it free for Disney Plus subscribers, so that's their Christmas gift. But either way, it's for the best for Pixar to do so. And one more question, are you still going to review Soul even if it's on Disney Plus? Yes, I know a lot of people are commenting that, a lot of people are asking this, and yes, I am still going to be reviewing it no matter what. It's going to be the same thing like what I did with the Mulan review. You know, I've always planned to go and review that film, so it's going to be the same thing with this. I've always planned to go and review Soul, so I am going to be reviewing Soul. I'll probably still need some time because it will be on Christmas, and like I'll probably be busy on Christmas depending on how the pandemic is going to be at the time. So bear with me, but yes, I will definitely be reviewing Soul no matter what. Let's see, what else do we have? It's not too surprising that Soul is being transferred to Disney Plus, especially since they did do the same thing with Hamilton and the one and only Ivan. But hey, at least I can see Soul without the risk of having someone cough on me. I wonder if Patrick Star with Bob Chapek I wonder if Patrick Star has advised Bob Chapek, we should take all the upcoming movies and push them onto Disney Plus. Well, yes and no, because like, yeah, that's what they're doing so far, but they have yet to do so with the Marvel movies. Like they're still committed to putting those onto movie theaters. It wouldn't like it would only be if things are really desperate with the pandemic that it's still going really bad, like even during the summer of next year, which would cause Disney to say, okay, screw it, let's put Black Widow onto Disney Plus. Let's see now, what do we got here? I don't have much to say on this other than thank God it's free on Disney Plus. But I do have a prayer for everyone working on Soul. Lord Jesus, I ask that you watch over these people. We give them all the hope they need. It's been stressful with this pandemic, but we give these people at Disney and Pixar and Pete Docter himself our blessing of survival and strength. They have worked hard to give us a movie of a lifetime, so let's return our love back to the legendary studio we call Pixar. There is one more person that I would like to add that you, like, if you want to do that kind of prayer, one more person also, well, technically a whole bunch of people, like everyone who has worked on it, but if you're going to go into specifics, you should also add in Kemp Powers, because that guy is equally a producer, equally a director with Pete Docter as well. So I thought I would go and mention him as well and not give Pete Docter all the credit. Let's see, what else do we have here? I had anticipated that the Mulan treatment and asked my older sister to pay for it, making it my early birthday present. My birthday is on December 1st, and now I am happy that there is no extra paywall and my family and I can watch it for Christmas. I don't know if the black population feels disappointed that it is skipping theaters, but considering that this pandemic is happening, still is less out of cowardice and more out of necessity and safety. I mean, honestly, I cannot really speak for the black community, especially the fact that I am a white guy, so, but honestly, I'm sure even they would understand that it is for the best, and I mean, hey, is there really much to complain about? Honestly, it's more of a plus than anything, because of the fact that they don't have to pay for anything. They don't have to drive to the movie theater and pay, 12 to 15 bucks for a ticket just to go and watch that movie. And on top of that, not only can they go and watch it for free, but they can watch it whenever they want. Okay, well, technically free. I mean, they would still have to have a Disney Plus subscription, but, at least they don't have to pay any more to watch Soul, and they can watch it as many times as they want. So there is that massive benefit that they could have. Let's see. What else do we have here? While I am disappointed that Soul won't be in theaters, I'm still glad that they're still planning to release it this year. The delay to Christmas is a little jarring, but it's a nice little gift from the guys. Y'all know I'll be checking this out on the day it hits, assuming I won't be busy with Christmas dinner and family visits, if they'll even be happening this year. Also, that comment is the equivalent of a child screaming, "I don't give two craps if people are dying. I want my Pixar movie in theaters." Yeah, you certainly got that right, dude. Let's see. What else, do we have here? What other comments that we do have? I think I read... Okay, I'll go and read this one. Oh, dang. How am I supposed to watch this film now? Disney Plus doesn't exist where I live. Wish it was in theaters. Oh, wait. My country's facing another lockdown due to an increase in COVID, so I can't go to theaters anyways. I'm trapped. But aside from my cabin fever, I'm glad Soul is being released on Disney Plus without any pay, unlike Mulan. But will this have Soul make more money than either The Good Dinosaur or Onward? Will it be successful like Trolls World Tour? That's going to be really tough to determine, because this is just a movie that Disney is just going to put on Disney Plus. I think the real success is going to determine if it's going to encourage more people to be subscribed to Disney Plus. That, I think, is going to be more of a factor to really determine the success. If it would end up... I will say, if Soul ends up becoming something similar to Hamilton, where it encouraged more people to immediately go and subscribe to Disney Plus, gain a few more million subscribers, then I think at that point Disney could consider it to be a hit. And that is a maybe. But ultimately, we will have to go and wait and see. I'll go and read one more comment, because, oh boy, we already spent a lot of time on this already. Okay, let's see. Wow, a Pixar film releasing Christmas is cool, even though I'm very disappointed that this film is skipping theaters, and also it's not only the first time an animated film by Disney is getting released on Christmas Day. Other studios did do the same thing last year with Blue Sky Studios' Spies in Disguise, but thank God it will not be a Disney Plus VOD. Yeah, at least there is that benefit. So at least the most that we can do is just look on the bright side, and now we can just wait on Christmas Day when Soul will officially be released on Disney Plus. Okay, so now with this big story out of the way, it is now time that I'm gonna go and jump onto our next story. And with the next story that I have, funny enough, we're still gonna be discussing about Soul, because there is another piece of interesting news that has actually been released. Now, it's not necessarily regarding Soul itself, but instead, it is actually gonna be regarding something related to Soul, and that is a documentary. Yes, apparently during a virtual press conference with the directors Pete Docter, Kemp Powers, and producer Dana Murphy, they have all talked about their experience with working on Soul and how it was during the pandemic as well. And when they discuss about the time that they worked on the movie during the pandemic, they have revealed something pretty big, actually, that will be a little piece of a bonus that will relate to the movie, and that is the fact that they have done a full-on documentary. More specifically, a documentary that will be about making Soul during the entire pandemic. In fact, to read you a big chunk here from my source here on Entertainment Weekly, this is a quote coming from the producer Dana Murphy, as she states, there were 7 weeks of production left when shelter-in-place ordinance came down in March after the COVID-19 pandemic spread to the United States. I guess we were really lucky and blessed of where we were at where we were at in production, because the back end is highly technical. So people were able to literally grab their machines and go home with them. And we were up and running in a day or two. Our systems team is incredible. Everyone was just really resilient. And she would continue by saying, usually when we complete these films, we get to celebrate it. We have this big theater full of everyone celebrating the film being completely done, and we weren't able to do that. So it just dawned on me fairly recently that outside of just a handful of people, most of the folks who worked on Soul have not seen the complete mixed film. It's something that we still haven't been able to share with the team that's done it. So basically the big thing that is going on is that apparently they are going to make a documentary about those last 7 weeks of creating and finishing up Soul during the pandemic. So in a way, it is actually going to be very reminiscent and very similar to what Disney has done not too long ago with the documentary Into the Unknown, the making of Frozen 2. And that is a miniseries on Disney Plus that you can go and check it out right now. That is actually a whole aspect. Like this is I believe a 6-part documentary that looks into the making of Frozen 2 throughout 2019. So from the start of the year all the way up till November, to the release of the film, where apparently they still had a long way to go. Like, there were some songs that they didn't finish up yet. There were a lot of animations that they didn't take care of. And probably the biggest thing that they focused on the most was the show yourself sequence, that they haven't figured any of that yet, and they have yet to fully figure out like who would Elsa ultimately meet when she would make it to Holland. So it's going to be a little bit similar to show the struggles of trying to finish up the production, except there's going to be that extra element of the quarantine, of the pandemic, and how the animators would go and face that. Now, one thing that has not been confirmed yet is actually regarding where is this going to be released. Not necessarily when, even though they haven't confirmed that, but they didn't state when this is or where this is going to be coming out, because there are several options that they could go. Now Pixar could do something similar with the movie itself, and they could actually go and release that onto Disney Plus. They could make that into a whole mini series. There is a possibility it could just be like a short video that they would just put out on YouTube, or they could just save that as a bonus feature when it would come out on Blu-ray, DVD, and 4K. If there would be a physical copy in the first place. There's no confirmation on that yet. But it is going to be interesting to know where that is going to be released. We don't have a confirmation, but so far we do know that there is going to be a documentary regarding finishing up the production of Soul. But one thing that I will state, the reason why I decided to pick this story up to go and discuss about this is mainly because it actually did have me a bit thinking. And that I believe that this is going to be the start of something that we are going to see a whole lot. The thing is that, as you guys probably know, there are tons of productions right now that are pretty much being held back, or that are currently working right now, or they have to dodge some obstacles in order to finish up their project during the pandemic. Like, we all know that there are plenty of there are plenty of movies that are still in production. What we are seeing here right now with this documentary, what this documentary is going to do is going to be one of the first of discussing how it is working on a movie or even like a TV show, a stage production or whatever during the pandemic. How do they try to go and work around being on quarantine and staying at home and staying safe while trying to work and finish up the project? This is going to be the start of something, because we're going to be hearing this again and again and again. And we are starting to hear that a little bit on social media. Like, even the movies that are currently in production right now, or the upcoming animated films that are going to be released. Stuff like Minions Rise of Gru, Sony's Connected, Raya and the Last Dragon, and many, many more. Like, all those films, they're all going through the same thing. And I can guarantee you, a lot of them will try to exploit the fact that they have still worked hard to finish this project during the pandemic. There's going to be a lot of those that will try to go and explain their stories, where they're going to talk to animators of what's it like to go and animate a major motion picture during a pandemic, like working on this big animated film at home. Like, how would they feel to go and do that? We're going to hear a whole bunch of stories again and again and again. And the crazy thing is that we're going to keep on hearing it even long after the pandemic is over. Because you got to keep in mind, like, with this entire pandemic, like, even if the best case scenario would happen, like, imagine the best case would be that suddenly at the start of next year, there would actually have a vaccine. They would finally have the cure for the pandemic, and everybody would be able to have it. Everybody would be able to get it for free. And from there, like, like, we don't have to worry anymore about the pandemic, and we could slowly but surely put things back to normal. Like, imagine if that best case scenario would happen. Even at that, we're still going to be hearing about those pandemic stories for so long when it comes to production histories for films such as Soul and Raya and the Last Dragon, and even like for the films that would proceed like afterwards. Like, even like we've heard about, like, this week, some new movies that are going to be coming out in 2021, you know, stuff like The Addams Family 2. They'll be discussing about it. Some of Sony's other films after Connected, stuff like Vivo and Hotel Transylvania 4, they're really going to get into it. Even going on, like the DreamWorks films as well, like, they're gonna go and really discuss about those. Like, DreamWorks, Blue Sky, Pixar, Disney, Sony, you name it, like, what, Netflix. All those studios will be talking about their stories even long afterwards, years afterwards even. The movies of 2021, the movies of 2022, the movies of 2023 even. Like, you gotta keep in mind, it takes many years to create one animated feature. And at that point, you can imagine there are so many animated films that are currently in production that won't be out until a very long time. So we will be hearing these stories for a while. And chances are, yes, like, they could end up becoming pretty repetitive. Like, it will happen maybe by like the end of 2021 or 2022 that people will they're going to start feeling sick and tired of constantly hearing the stories of how like, the animators have to go through the pandemic in order to finish up the project. Like, it's going to be the same song and dance number, but I just have a very strong feeling that we're going to be hearing about this a lot, because, as you can imagine, the pandemic has impacted so many people and, like, has impacted so many lives as well. So from there, you can imagine that there are going to be a lot of people that will be talking about their pandemic stories while working on an animated film. And yeah, it's going to be, like, I'm not saying that it's going to be tiring immediately, because, like, this documentary on Soul is going to be the first of something. But all I'm saying is that you better brace yourselves, because this is going to be the start of something that we're going to be hearing a lot, even long after this whole pandemic is over, because people are going to be sharing their pandemic stories, and you know that companies will try to go and exploit that to show how the animators have worked so hard on this project and that this movie is going to be great and you need to see it on the big screen and whatever. So I'm just saying, there's going to be a period that people will be exploiting this pandemic in order to promote the project that they have worked on for years. And as you could tell, Pixar has already started theirs, and it's not going to be long that many others will follow suit. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to know, what do you all think about this documentary on Soul that will tell their stories about the 7 weeks left that they had to go and work on this during the pandemic? Are you guys excited about this? Are you guys not interested? Let me know what you all think. And on a side note, I just want to say that for me personally, yes, I am actually pretty excited to see this documentary. It's all a matter of, like, where can I see it and when is it going to be coming out? So just thought I would lay it out there after my whole rant on that thing. All right, anyways, what do we got here? I honestly wouldn't mind this film trend. Not all productions are the same, and they all have different stories, people, and circumstances. This pandemic wasn't going to just affect the films of 2020, but for at least the next 5 years. I am wondering if the Soul doc will have a brief touch on the Black Lives Matter protests during the summer of when Soul would have been released. Well, I mean, it's gonna be tough to determine if they really would be touching on that. I mean, regardless if it would be the documentary or the movie itself. But I mean, honestly, considering that it is a more prominently black Pixar film that does have a more prominently black cast, with maybe the exception of Tina Fey, but from there, I wouldn't be surprised if they do touch upon race, if they do look into that a little bit. It doesn't seem like they really are getting into it, but you know, it's fine. Like, at least they are showing that it is more of a celebration of black culture, especially with the massive theme of jazz and having a lot of characters that are more black. So there is that, but honestly, I think that aspect we will have to wait and see. Excuse me, folks. Anyways, now what else do we got here? I'm low-key kind of interested in this. After the Frozen 2 documentary gave me a good insight into why Frozen 2 wound up becoming not as good as the original, maybe this will explain the grueling process of animation during a global pandemic, so I'll likely check it out. Also, I'm required by law to inform you that Luigi Marinus has been asking him to bring him back in, but do not fret, for I have told him calmly and politely to piss off. Yeah, that guy's never coming. Yeah, that guy ain't gonna be coming back. And I definitely applaud you guys in the chat wall, the moderators, for properly doing your job, at least to inspect like any of the trolls or anything like that. Just quickly take them down easily like that. So honestly, for that, I definitely do thank you, and to like also quickly take down people like Luigi Marinus. Anyways, what else do we got here? This documentary sounds very fascinating. I hope we can add it to our collection of other amazing documentaries like The Pixar Story and Sleeping Beauty's Castle, although starting a trend of documentaries about films that were victims to the side effects of the pandemic, I don't know what to say about that. Oh, there's gonna be a lot of people that will. You know that it is going to be a trend. I mean, in the world of capitalism, you know there are going to be people that will try to go and exploit and try to really cash in on the pandemic. Which is why, by the way, don't forget to go and buy my masks at AniMat's gift shop. Alright, all joking aside though, let's see, what else do we got here? I'm interested in seeing what this documentary has to offer. In an age where the pandemic is growing strong, it could really show how the film was affected. Also, I would not mind if they do this with Raya and the Last Dragon as well. Okay, so there is that. Let's see, what else do we have here? This is a great idea. This could be a great teaching tool to show people the best ways to handle a situation like this. Maybe they've invented a new technique that may help other animators get their animated movie out on time during the pandemic, so this is a good thing. Hope this gets released in a mini-series on Disney+. Well, I mean, the thing is that technically with the internet, that thing has already been invented. I mean, it's not just with movies such as, it's not just with movies like this, it's not just with Soul, but like even the movies that you would find on the internet, like even with the little cartoons that you would find in there, like they have already mastered that kind of craft long before this pandemic even hit. Like you guys remember the reanimated collabs, or even what Vivzy Pop would do with Has-Been Hotel. That's a great example of like a process that has already been done, where people have already been working at home, working like internationally, like all around the world even. And from there, they would just go and do what they want. They would just go and animate their craft, make sure like to just do their job in animating and getting the job done, all in the safety at their home. So that technology has already been invented. It's just that nowadays even major studios are doing the same thing. Let's see. I'll read one more comment before we jump on to the next story. This sounds cool, and I can't wait. I can't wait for it and the movie on Christmas Day. Also, if I could play devil's advocate on that one comment, I could kind of see his point. I'm not an anti-masker, but I've got to admit that even I'm getting tired of having to wear a mask all the time. Also, when a vaccine does happen, it's not going to be available to everyone right away. Children and the elderly will most likely be first. Alright, well that is true. And I mean, the thing is that technically, it would, like, if we would have a choice of, like, always wearing a mask and social distancing and not wearing a mask and not social distancing, of course everyone would go and pick, like, the latter, Like, we're all ready to go and give up our mask and give up social distancing to go back to normal. But we are still in a pandemic. We must keep fighting this until it is over. As much as people are so desperate to have a break from it, the virus does not take a break. And do you really want to go and risk your do you really want to risk your health? Do you want to risk the health of the people that you love and the people around you just to go and force your way back to normal and do the things that you just want to do, that you desperately want? That's all I'm saying. Alright, so now it is time to take a break from all this Soul news, and we're going to move on to something a little bit different. Now, this is something that just recently they have finally completed. They just released their feature film, they just put out the grand finale of this show, and everyone is all happy with the way that things have capped off for this Cartoon Network series. However, it looks like they're not just done yet, because there are more stories that they are gonna go and tell. And that is especially the case with We Baby Bears. Yes, folks, it is official. Cartoon Network has officially announced, not necessarily a spin-off, but a reboot to their popular series We Bare Bears, called We Baby Bears, in which they have planned to go and release it on the spring of 2021. On top of that, they have also mentioned that they are bringing in some of the top people from the original show, that they are going to be coming back as executive producers, which includes the director of the We Bare Bears series, Manny Hernandez, along with the creator of the show, Daniel Chong. So both of them are going to be coming in as producers. But you might be wondering, why is it that I said that this is a reboot and not a spin-off per se? Does it have any connections to the original series? Well, that's the thing. No, not really, especially when you do look at the poster that they have released. And for those of you who are only listening, if you do look at this poster, you'll find that it looks completely different than the animated series that we are familiar with. That the art style and the animation style is a lot more reminiscent to anime. It's a lot more colorful, and especially it's a lot more fantasy oriented. Like you see two little witch cats that are on the bottom right, I believe. Like you see this island that is actually a whale, and like even just behind the box with the bears, like you see this rainbow, and it has like two colorful characters that are standing on that rainbow. So it is going to be a lot more fantasy oriented than the more slice of life thing that we already have with the We Bare Bears series. In fact, I'm going to go and read you from my source here on Animation Magazine about the plot that's going to be about We Baby Bears. As it states, We Baby Bears features the baby bears on their search for a place they can settle down and fit into. Each episode transports them into vibrant and colorful worlds where they befriend legions of familiar fairy tale faces. During their non-stop crusade, they are faced with the decision to stay or to continue on their journey for a permanent abode they can call home. Ooh, boy. There's more. Man, this pizza, man, it's coming out more than usual. I don't know what it is, but yeah, either way, at least the aftertaste is fine. Sorry, I don't have much to complain. But anyways, going back into this, we also got a quote here coming from the president of Warner Brothers Global Kids, Young Adults, and Classics, Tom Asham, as he states, Manny's admiration for anime and music come to life in this fresh new expansion of a beloved franchise. The spectacular landscape and musical inspiration transforms this new series into an unforgettable journey for all We Bare Bears fans and beyond. And did I mention that they are baby bears? And that's so far the major thing that we got, is that there is a brand new reboot series of We Bare Bears that is going to look a little bit more anime-oriented, or even, I would even debatably say that it looks more Adventure Time-oriented, that will be more fantasy-based, starring the baby bears. And I know that there are some people that might look at this and they might roll their eyes thinking that this is more based on the massive trend that we are seeing right now with the comeback of like the baby popularity, taking a popular character and just turning them into babies, especially when that really sparked because of the child from The Mandalorian that a lot of people often refer to as Baby Yoda. But if you have watched We Bare Bears, that's really not the case. In fact, this is something that they would commonly do in the show, where at the same time as we see the bears going on their mundane adventures, doing their own thing, we would often flash back into when the bears were kids, and we often see their little adventures as, in fact, what this article would even explain about We Baby Bears is that they would try to go and find their way to go and find a new home. That's essentially their big plan. So like we see their little adventures often. So it does make sense that if they are going to do a new series related to We Bare Bears, that they would have one that would mainly feature the baby bears when they were young, when they were kids, and see their little adventures on their way. And it's kind of interesting the direction that they decided to go to, like, to make it all the more fantasy oriented, especially the fact that technically nowadays, like, there have been a lot of shows that were big during the 2010 decade that are no longer with us, especially with Adventure Time. So in a way, it definitely is filling the gap with many of those shows that are out of the way now, like with Adventure Time, and even with Steven Universe. It just made me think of Steven Universe, considering that we do have the star that is on their box right there. So it does fill in the gap, and I do see why they would go and try to create this series, and it does have some strong potential, especially when you have like the many of the creative leads that are still going to remain in We Bare Bears. That they're going to remain with this show to go and help out to bring this series to life, and maybe this could be a new direction that could actually really help out, like to really expand upon We Bare Bears, even though this is a reboot. But one thing that I will say though, and this is probably my biggest criticism with this series, I do have one massive problem with the fact that Cartoon Network is doing this, and I just need to go and ask. I don't know about you, like maybe this is just a feeling that I have, but if I have one massive problem with We Baby Bears, am I the only one that thinks that it's a little too soon to have a reboot of this series? Because the thing is, with We Bare Bears, it's been going on for a good while on Cartoon Network. It had a great run, and but it wasn't just until like recently, probably a few weeks ago or something like that, that they've already had their grand finale. Like they just released the We Bare Bears movie, and that was meant to be like the big thing to ultimately finish off We Bare Bears as a whole series. So now the whole narrative is done. And yet, I feel like it's a little too soon that now, a few months later, they're going to go and start off with a brand new series. They're starting off with a new show with We Baby Bears, but bringing it to a brand new direction that is unlike what we have already seen with the original. Now, granted, I could say that I can see a little bit of why they're doing this, and they're trying to go and do a little bit of a similar approach to what they have done with Steven Universe, because in a way, it is a little bit like what we have seen here, where we have Steven Universe, in which it had a very good long run on Cartoon Network, on top of being a very critically praised show. But then it would have its grand finale with the Steven Universe movie, in which from there, it would have a spin-off series called Steven Universe Future that would go and tie up all the remaining plot lines that remain left in the world of Steven Universe. Now, I know that there are some people that might disagree with me and say that technically Steven Universe Future is still a part of the Steven Universe series, is that it didn't end off on Steven Universe the movie. Like, technically, Steven Universe Future is still Steven Universe. In which I would go and say that technically we are both right in this case. That, yes, it is true that Steven Universe Future is still a part of the Steven Universe narrative. That's why I did state that it is a spin-off. But technically, Cartoon Network did state that it is more of a series of its own. That technically Steven Universe, technically the main Steven Universe series was completed and was finished right at the moment that the movie was released. So, yeah, in a way we are both right. But it is understandable why they would go and do this, though. Because the thing is, at least with Steven Universe Future, it's meant to be an epilogue. It's meant to show, like, what happened after the events of the grand finale of the movie. Thus, even though it is a spin-off in itself, it still has a very strong connection to the original. That technically you would have to watch everything, including the epilogue with Steven Universe Future, to know the whole story of this entire narrative of Steven Universe. With We Bare Bears, however, the thing is, as I said before, We Bare Bears is a reboot. It's a completely new show with a new style. Like, it is completely different than what we had with We Bare Bears. And with the We Bare Bears show, like, we had the show itself, and then we had the movie, that's the grand finale, but then we have this new reboot series that is completely different from the rest. And I don't know, I feel like maybe I could be wrong, and this series could turn out to be great, and this is exactly what We Bare Bears fans would love to have, but I don't know, I just feel like it's kind of weird, and it feels a little bit too soon to have a brand new series based on We Bare Bears. I feel like it's way too soon in order to go and have a reboot. Like, can we have a moment to breathe, after just having the whole We Bare Bears narrative? Can we have a moment to breathe after We Bare Bears the movie? Like, why do we need a reboot now? Like, I'm not against having a reboot at all. Like, this show could actually turn out to be amazing and could actually meet the levels or even surpass what they have achieved with We Bare Bears. That is a very strong possibility. But I just feel like it's like we just got the movie, we just got the grand finale. So can we just wait a little bit until We Bare Bears would be released, like maybe like in the next 3 to 4 years? Like, at least have some time to just, like, sit back. Okay, we already got We Bare Bears. You know, like, we relaxed. We had our time with the Bears. Like, can we have a break from We Bare Bears? That's all I'm asking. You know, that's all I ask, because I feel like it just feels a little too sudden that you just finished the series and now you're trying to do a whole reboot of it. Like, if this did had a connection with the series, then honestly I would have been fine. But the fact that it is a full-on reboot, I don't know, it seems a little bit too, you know, it's just too soon. For at least for me, at least. It would be as if, I don't know, I feel like it would be as if right after it would be like as if right after Teen Titans, like the original 2003 series, like imagine if they would have Teen Titans like they did all 5 seasons, and just when people would expect a season 6, then suddenly that's when they would go and release Teen Titans Go. Like, it would be a little too jarring, it would be a little too sudden, so that's at least my little complaint about it, but maybe they could prove me wrong, and it is a good idea to put out We Baby Bears now. And if you are excited to see when this is going to be released, just mark your calendars for the spring of 2021, when we are going to see We Baby Bears. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all now, what do you think about We Baby Bears? What do you think about this series? Especially, I would love to know if you are a We Bare Bears fan, and what are your opinions about We Baby Bears? Is this a series that you're excited about? Are you a little bit unsure about it? Let me know what you all think. Okay. Let's see now. In my opinion, it looks great. In my opinion, it looks great that a modern Cartoon Network show that was beloved by many to come back. But as baby form, what's with all the baby versions? Okay. It looks like, I know this is a reboot, but this is a prequel, but it is a prequel show where the bears are kids. Okay, guys, did you listen to what I have said at the beginning? Like, you guys do know that this is something that they do in the original We Bare Bears show, right? Like, that is something that they would often do, that they would often flash back and see the bears as kids. So, seeing the baby bears is nothing new for We Bare Bears. I'm just saying. Like, this is not something in relation to the trend, okay? It's just staying true to the spirit of the original series. Okay, anyways, what is this now? Wow, I didn't know if the reboot, I thought this was a prequel, but I'm really excited for this one. Most of Cartoon Network TV shows that were not Warner Brothers based or Canadian based were actually really good in the 2010s decade. Showed me the best animation out there. They even got Disney Plus to step up their game, so good job. I can't wait for this to come out. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Let's see, what else do we got here? Oh, okay. I agree with you, AniMat. Having a reboot so soon just feels like they want to milk We Bare Bears' popularity. If they did this reboot a few years later, it would be fine for me. I know that we have those flashbacks from the original show, but please, stop with all the baby stuff. Yeah. Okay, so at least you guys are aware of the, at least you are aware of the context of that. Like, I mean, I don't blame you if you do see if you do see the similarities with the whole baby trend and then the We Baby Bears and stuff like that. I don't blame you for that, but as long as you do understand like the context of why We Bare Bears would do this, then like we're perfectly cool. But yeah, like I think that is I think you really did you really did hit the nail on the head when bringing up the reason why this is problematic for me. I think I think you really got why it seems a bit troublesome, the fact that they would do a spin-off right after the movie. It just feels like they're really trying to milk the series. It's like, it doesn't necessarily feel like they had just because of the timing, it doesn't feel like Cartoon Network had a genuine idea of what they want to do in order to expand the world of We Bare Bears. It just feels like they're really trying to go and milk the popularity of it. So there is that feels a bit iffy. What else do we got here? Do we have any other comments? Yeah, and someone actually brought up a very interesting comparison. It's just like with Pony Life coming right after Friendship is Magic ended. Yeah, exactly. It just feels just like that, like the main, like we had the main My Little Pony series, like it officially ended, it officially concluded, and yet for some reason, they still want to try to expand upon that with Pony Life, which technically some could say it's a reboot, but you could definitely tell it's just, it feels like a desperate attempt to really try to expand upon what they have established with Friendship as Magic. Let's see. Oh, we do have one fan. I am a huge We Bare Bears fan, especially since am a huge We Bare Bears, especially since it's at the level of Adventure Time, Steven Universe, and Gumball. Okay, so does that mean you're excited for this? Okay. Anyways, let's see. I'll go read one more comment before we jump into the next story. I only watched the We Bare Bears show a little bit at my cousin's house, but not the movies. So I have mixed feelings about the Wee Baby Bears. Okay, so at least there is that. But in case you guys would ever be interested in checking out Wee Baby Bears, keep in mind it is going to be coming out in 2021, in the spring of 2021. Okay, so for our next story, what we got here is actually, we're still staying a little bit in the realm of Cartoon Network, but we do have a preschool show. And I will admit that when it comes to this specific idea, I gotta hand it to them that it is quite unexpected. It is a little bit intriguing. I didn't expect that they would go and head this direction with the DC characters, or more specifically, the DC vehicles. Yes, Warner Brothers Animation has announced that they are going to be working on a brand new preschool series based on the DC comic characters called Batwheels, in which it will star not the DC superheroes, but rather Batman's vehicles. And there's actually this little section here, again from my article on Animation Magazine, where it actually has two summaries. One that has officially been released by Warner Brothers, and one that was actually clarified and went into a little more detail from Animation Magazine. It states here, so reading Warner Brothers synopsis, they are a team of incredible crime fighters who have banded together to oppose evil, combat crime, and clean up the streets of Gotham City. They're not Batman and Robin. They are the Batwheels, an awesome group of sentient superpowered crime-fighting vehicles defending Gotham City alongside Batman, Robin, Batgirl, and a host of DC superheroes. In other words, the summary of it is basically, having just been created by the Bat computer, our heroes are essentially kids with little to no life experiences. Led by Bam, the Batmobile, the Batwheels, BB, the Batgirl cycle, Red, the Redbird, Jet, the Batwing, and Buff, the Battruck, must navigate the growing pains of being a newly formed super team, as well as the growing pains that comes with just being a kid. This relatable and aspirational series will follow the journey of this dynamic team as they thrill and entertain with their heroic adventures, as well as demonstrate to kids the values of self-confidence, friendship, and teamwork. We also got a quote here coming from Sam Register, the president of Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network, as he states, "From Batman the Animated Series to Teen Titans Go, superhero storytelling has definitely been one of our superpowers here at Warner Brothers Animation. We are so excited to bring that expertise over to the preschool space and take something that all kids love, cool vehicles, and give it a turbo boost with Batman." And while there is no official release date to it just yet, they have confirmed that this series will be airing on Cartoon Network and HBO Max, along with all different Cartoon Network platforms. Now, at first, a lot of people would go and look at this and think that this is obviously some kind of Cars ripoff. Like, even when you look at the image itself, like when you look at this image of the new look of the Batmobile, or at least as they call it here, BAM. Like, it very much is like a Pixar Cars character, where you have the mouth that's like right at the hood, like right at the bottom of the hood, like right in the front of the car, and where the windshield and where the windshield would be, those would be the eyes. Like, you could definitely see this character fit in the same universe as Cars. And from there, I have seen a lot of people that would go and complain of the fact that Warner Brothers is just basically ripping off Cars in order to go and create this preschool series. But then again, the more that I did go into it, the more that I did read about what this is going to be all about, that might not necessarily be the case. I mean, yeah, sure, the main characters might seem very Cars-like, but it's not going to be the same kind of logic as Cars, per se. It's not just going to be a cast of just characters that are Cars. It's not like the Batmobile is Batman, per se, considering that these cars are going to be living in the same universe as these DC characters. They're going to live in the same world, such as Batman, as Robin, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and the whole Justice League and stuff like that. They will acknowledge that humans do exist, and even give a bit of a backstory of how these car characters were actually developed thanks to the Bat computer. So we do have a bit of a backstory of how this is all connected to the DC world. And who knows, maybe it's connected to the Zack Snyder film universe, you know? Like, maybe this could have a connection to Zack Snyder's Justice League movie, considering the maturity that he is trying to display. You know the one that I'm talking about. The one that he's desperately trying to say that, my movie is going to be for grown-ups, not for stupid kid stuff. Yeah, it sounds like you really are aiming for the same audience as Batwheels over here. But with that said, honestly, the more that I do think about it, the more that, honestly, I cannot help but admire the creativity that they do have on this. As much as people want to go and try to accuse DC of ripping off Cars, like, let me go and ask you, what else can you do in terms of a preschool series based on the DC superheroes? I know that there might be some other options, but honestly, when trying to think about them, a lot of them do sound like things that already people have done immediately. It sounds like stuff that's already been done so many times before. Like, honestly, the most common answer that many people may find, or like probably the first thing that would pop out of their heads, would be like, take the DC superheroes and just shrink them down to kids and then have preschool adventures from there. And at that point, that doesn't sound like all that great or even an interesting idea, because it's already been done so many times before. In fact, I think they've throughout the history of DC, maybe they have already done that in comic form or in something else. In fact, like, you think about it, plenty of others have already done that, even recently, with shows such as PJ Masks, or even Marvel has already, they already got their brand of, like, preschool versions of the Marvel characters themselves. Like, you already got, like, what was it again? The Marvel Super Friends or something like that, where they got, like, mini versions of, like, Spider-Man and Thor and Hulk and stuff like that. So that thing has already been done. So I will give points to Batwheels for at least going into a different direction, into a direction that, like, admittedly is a bit unexpected, where they would go and give the vehicles a bit of a spotlight. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more that I do feel like it very much is pure genius on it. Because there is something that could be relatable to Cars, and it could actually go into Warner Brothers' favor, and that is going to be regarding merchandising. Like, really think about this, folks. Because the thing is, the reason why Cars is considered one of Pixar's most popular brands is not because of the movies. I can guarantee you that. The movies are not the main source of the franchise's revenue. It's the merchandising. You gotta keep in mind, Cars is actually a billion-dollar empire, like fairly comparable to something like Frozen, actually. And from there, they would keep selling like all these different toys, all these different collectibles. And from there, I can imagine DC getting a bit of that experience as well with the Batwheels. That they would actually have something that would be geared a lot more towards kids and something that would look a little bit more cool as well. And even, like, honestly, like, even with the factor of, like, oh, it looks a bit like Cars, I'm sure that Warner Brothers could actually use that to their benefit as well. Where kids, yeah, they'll see something that could be similar to Cars, but that could be the point of it. You know, maybe they would leave kids to their imagination, and when you see preschoolers play with these toys, maybe they want to go and combine this with their Cars toys that they already have. Like, you could totally imagine a toddler picking up a BAM toy and having him meet up with Lightning McQueen, and it would look like they would have, like, these Batman-style adventures together, like with Lightning McQueen with the help of Mater, along with Bam and Red, like, joining together, kind of like this dynamic duo or something like that. You know, like, I could definitely see the possibilities, both financially in terms of the business, of how they can go well with the merchandising, and honestly, I can see how things can actually go well with the show itself, especially if they are going to be bringing in the superheroes themselves, like Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. Like, if they can have a little bit of a connection with the superheroes that they already have, like, maybe there could be a little bit of a connection with the movies, or maybe a little bit of a connection with some of the TV shows that they have, like Teen Titans Go or DC Superhero Girls. I can actually see I can really see how that could work. Or maybe, honestly, you know what? Actually, honestly, I know that I kind of made fun of, like, having this connected with the Zack Snyder Justice League movie or stuff like that. But you know what? That might not be a bad idea. Why not give this a connection to the DCEU? And I don't mean, like, in terms of the narrative, but actually have some of those celebrities appear onto this show. Like, wouldn't it be fun to see a preschool series where you would actually have Gal Gadot reprising her role as Wonder Woman for this show? Or even Jason Momoa reprising his role as Aquaman for this? Or even, like, or another great example, like Zachary Levi reprising his role as Shazam and appearing for this, helping out the Batwheels. Like, that would be great, actually. That would actually be a lot of fun, and would actually help kids to really get them into the DC world, to help them, like, jump into the world of DC and the stuff that they have already recently put out. That would actually be a lot of fun. That would actually be great. So honestly, it seems stupid at first, but the more I think about it, the more that I do see some strong potential where this could actually turn out to be a pretty strong franchise for both Cartoon Network and HBO Max. This could be a great gateway for toddlers to enter into the realm of DC, and hopefully they won't get into the toxic side of it. But yeah, honestly, it's gonna be intriguing to see what will happen with the show. I'm for sure not gonna be watching this because, like, I'm way too old for this. But still, I could definitely see the potential that this could have. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall right now, and I would like to ask you all, what do you all think about Batwheels? Do you still think that this is a weird idea, and that maybe this is too much of a Cars ripoff? Or do you think that this might actually have some potential? Let me know what you think. Okay. Now, let's see here. I might be sounding crazy for saying this, but I think this has a lot of potential. I mean, the best way to describe this is like if Tim Burton's 1989 Batmobile had a life of his own. In fact, it kind of did that with the climax where the Batmobile went into the source of the Joker's poison and blew up the entire building, which as a kid really made me believe the car was a character. Overall, just hearing this just makes it kind of exciting, actually, and I am up for it. And who knows, it might turn out to be good. It could. Alright, so let's see now. Wait, really? We're actually getting a series on the Batmobile. This does seem like a superhero Cars ripoff at first glance, but in a way, it's a bit like Steve in Smash. It's entirely nonsensical and stupid, but I'm so glad it's happening. Now, since we have an Alfred show and a Batmobile show, where's my utility belt series, Warner Brothers? The Teen Titans Go movie hasn't been wrong yet. Yeah, you never know, dude. You never know, like, what thing they could go and take seriously, so maybe that utility belt might have a series of its own. Maybe, like, some kind of Sausage Party style series or something like that. Let's see. Well, you never know. I mean, like, so far they're trying to go into new directions with the DC Comics. Like, why not make, like, an adult animated comedy series? They could try that out. I mean, like, you know that Marvel is already trying to get into that with the MODOK series that they want to do, so who knows, maybe they'll do this as well. Let's see now. I'll be honest, I didn't see this coming. Maybe I should have taken those false trailers in the Teen Titans Go movie seriously. I would not call this a Cars ripoff, though, since we already got a lot of shows for preschoolers and kids with living vehicles. But we already know that Wonder Woman's invisible jet will be the easiest character to animate. Oh, I wonder where you got that joke. Did you check my Twitter account? Alright, anyways, let's see what else we got here. I don't know what to say, but why put Cartoon Network... why put Cartoon Network in this? We had trouble with it back in 2005 with the Tickle You, and doesn't that mean they're bringing it back? And does that mean all the DC heroes are going to be vehicles? And imagine if one of the kids watching it on HBO Max might accidentally watch Harley Quinn, and what would Zack Snyder's version of Batwheels be like? Okay, well, I mean, like, that's also, like, honestly, I don't know what that would mean for Cartoon Network. Like, maybe Cartoon Network wants to get back into the preschool game, but we will wait and see on that. Like, I guess they want to still be more competitive against Nickelodeon, and we all know Nickelodeon is so far getting some great success with that, especially with Paw Patrol. Yeah, like, honestly, I wouldn't worry too much if, like, kids would randomly stumble upon some of the more serious DC stuff. But then again, that is up to the parents to make sure that, they can be in charge of what the kids can watch and that what they are watching is more suitable for them. Let's see. What else do we got here? Well, this is a terrible idea. See what I mean about the Warner Brothers shows and about Canadian shows not being any good? Pretty much just sounds like a combination of Bratman and the Brave and the Bold mixed with Cars 2. I bet you Larry the Cable Guy is going to play the main character in this Warner Brothers show. It is going downhill, but I do wonder if the Wonder Woman's invisible jet will be in the series. Larry the Cable Guy, yeah. Let's have Larry the Cable Guy star in a preschool series starring the Batmobile. Hey, Batman, gonna need some help. You got them Batwheels behind me? Ain't good. Come on, Batman. We need to work together. Eat Pratosec. Oh, man. All right, I think I'll go and stop the comments from here. So, yeah, if you do have kids and you want to go and introduce them to the DC world, you want to introduce them to Superman and Batman and stuff, maybe this could be the thing for you. And so finally, we will go and cap this off with the grand finale, the one to go and end this off. And I actually do have a bit of a bonus miscellaneous. Now, this one came in at the last minute. This was a bit unexpected of a piece of news. But then again, the more I read about this, the more that I feel pretty doubtful. Even if I would be considered a Disney Parks fan. And I am talking about the Space Mountain movie. Yes, folks, it is official. Disney is planning to go and try to make a movie based on their beloved indoor roller coaster, Space Mountain. And the first thing that they have done in order to get things started with this is that they have hired Jory Harold to go and write the script, on top of producing the film along with his wife, Tori Tunnell. And for those of you who are not necessarily familiar with Jory Harold, he actually does have a reputation as a writer and already got some experiences working for some major studios like Disney. Apparently, he has worked with Warner Brothers for King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, which, by the way, may I point out, is one of Warner Brothers' biggest box office bombs, considering that Legend of the Sword is actually a movie that I believe has lost, you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it has lost Warner Brothers $100 million? Yeah, it really is one of the biggest box office bombs in history. It was a movie that was released back in 2017 or 2018, I believe, but yeah, it was notably a massive bomb. But then again, he's also busy working on some upcoming projects as well. It is said here that Joby is also working on Zack Snyder's upcoming movie Army of the Dead, speaking of Zack Snyder, and currently the biggest thing that he is writing right now is going to be the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney+. On top of that, he has also produced several different movies. It has even stated that apparently recently he was an executive producer for John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, and on top of that, he was also an executive producer for the series that sorry about that. I don't know why my brain just suddenly went a little glitchy there, but I was just trying to read at the same time. But apparently, he was an executive producer on a historical drama that is made by Misha Green called Underground. And from there, by the way, Joby isn't going to be the only producer with his wife. On top of that, they also got right back to go and produce the feature as well, which is the production company founded by Dan Lin and Jonathan Irich. As you guys know, those are the guys that were also the producers behind the Aladdin remake. And so far, what we know about the Space Mountain movie with this news is that so far, they're only getting things started. They're only starting with the draft. They're only beginning the pre-production of it. We don't really know what's going to be the plot of this movie anyways. But apparently it has stated here in my source on The Hollywood Reporter that apparently we know about two things regarding this Space Mountain movie, or what Disney's plan is going to be about. Number one is that apparently the plot is going to be a family adventure, whatever the fridge that means. And on top of that is that they are going to be planning this to be theatrically released. It's not going to be a Disney Plus exclusive. They want to put this out in theaters. So apparently that's going to be the major plan that they do have for Space Mountain. Now, one thing that I do know, just like with many other Disney rides, whether it be with Pirates of the Caribbean, or the Haunted Mansion, or Jungle Cruise, or even It's a Small World, there was a long history of people trying to make a Space Mountain movie. This is not necessarily the first time that someone wants to actually go and make a Space Mountain movie. And more specifically, towards the ride itself. There have been a few attempts, but again and again, Disney just wasn't really gelling with the idea. They weren't really fond of it. And plus the fact that they had other ideas, or other people had other ideas to make their own major sci-fi flick, which did turn off Disney a bit from the idea and just leave the ride as is, as just a ride. But personally, in my opinion, when I looked into this, when I looked into this news, the only thing that I really did think to myself is just, really, Disney? You want to do this? You want to do a Space Mountain movie? I don't know. I just feel like I can't help but really feel like this is just a recipe for disaster. I don't think this is something that could really go well, especially financially. And I'm saying this because of the fact that technically this has already happened. In a way, there was a movie with Space Mountain that ended up becoming a massive disaster for Disney. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it is regarding Tomorrowland. You may remember the 2015 movie starring George Clooney and directed by Brad Bird. Now, technically, it's not a movie based on a Disney ride, but it is actually based on the Disneyland area, or the area that you would find at the Disney parks. That entire section is actually the inspiration to the movie, to the Tomorrowland film. This is also a case in point. When you look at the movie, you would find numerous of different references to different attractions that are related to Tomorrowland, and even like outside of Tomorrowland as well. You would have at the start of it, you would actually have the 1964 World's Fair along with It's a Small World. And then you would also have references to the Carousel of Progress, where they were in an area that is very similar to the ride's rotating theater. And then, of course, you also have Space Mountain, where you would actually have this one little area in Space Mountain, or like this one area in Tomorrowland, where you actually see the exterior of Space Mountain. That is actually a thing that does exist. And from there, as you can imagine, Tomorrowland turned out to be a massive box office bomb for Disney. They lost a significant amount of money, and even with the critics, they weren't really gelling with it as well as many of the other Brad Bird films. In fact, many people have actually agreed that Tomorrowland is actually Brad Bird's weakest film. Now, for me personally, I remember I have reviewed it many years ago when it was out in theaters, and I did find it to be pretty good. It was, it was okay of a movie, but honestly, I do see some of the prominent flaws that it has, and I don't blame people if they really view this in a negative light. So honestly, I can see why it became a massive box office flop, and pretty much became what many people consider it now to be Brad Bird's weakest film. Like, say what you will about Incredibles 2, but even that one is still way better made than Tomorrowland. So from there, as you can imagine, Disney doesn't necessarily have the best luck when it comes to creating these types of films, especially sci-fi films. Now thinking about it, actually, Disney doesn't usually have the best of luck with sci-fi, especially with their live action films. Like, usually if they would make these kinds of movies, they often turn out to be a box office bomb. Like, not just with, just thinking about it now, not just with Space Mountain, but also with with John Carter, or even with Mars Needs Moms. That's another very prominent example. Or even just recently, like, you could say A Wrinkle in Time. Like, some people might consider that a bit more as a fantasy film, more so than sci-fi, but there is a bit of, like, sci-fi elements that are actually included onto that picture. So Disney never really had the best of luck with their own sci-fi flicks. Why else do you think that they went off to buy Lucasfilm so that they could go and own Star Wars? So that way, they would want to actually have their own successful brand of a sci-fi franchise. That's why they had to go and freaking get Star Wars in the first place, because they're not really doing well with their own sci-fi movies that they have. So from there, that's why I feel a little bit strange and a little bit doubtful with this Space Mountain movie. And especially when it comes to the movie itself, I will say one thing: even though it's only been announced, even though it's only in the very early stages of it, there is one thing that already puts me off, that is already a massive turnoff, and that is the fact that they got freaking Ryback behind this. The two names that I'm starting to get a little bit tired of seeing, Dan Lin and Jonathan Irich. I mean, they're not bad producers, but they're starting to be very, like, their names are starting to really pop up all over the place, and it's starting to be a bit tiring, especially with the kind of films that they would go out to be released. I mean, they got a really lucky shot with the Lego movies, of course, but then afterwards, it's just like some of their other credits aren't really that admirable, especially if we are talking about Disney and what they have put out with Aladdin. That's the part that really doesn't make me feel excited. And just like what I said before in a previous episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, My problem with it is just, they're not gonna go, my problem is not that they're gonna make this a bad movie, but they're just gonna turn it into a bland blockbuster. They're just gonna turn this into like an easily forgettable, high-budget blockbuster feature film that people are just gonna quickly forget about in the next few days. And maybe this is just a coincidence, but now this seems to be the second time that Rideback wants to go and try to produce a movie based on a Disney ride, because I think it was just a few weeks ago that it was announced that they're also involved with a Haunted Mansion movie. So why would they want to go and also do Space Mountain? Are we going to hear more different movies based on rides? Are they going to try to develop an It's a Small World movie? I don't know. Like, maybe it's just a coincidence, but it's starting to be, I don't know, like, you know, what's that game called? You know, as an Among Us player would say, I'm starting to feel a little sus with Rideback, you know? Starting to get a little bit suspicious with their plan and what they want to do. I feel like we might be hearing a little bit more. I mean, who knows with what else, who knows what other projects they want to try to go and make. Maybe they would want to go and also try to develop, like, I don't know, like maybe an Expedition Everest movie. Or, you know, it's on, or like maybe they want to do a Journey into Imagination movie. You know, honestly, it's kind of sad that I'm at the point where it's really hard to try to think about an original IP that Disney would go and turn into a movie. And, like, there's, like, very little options of that. Or even, like, there's another one I just thought of. Maybe they want to do a Country Bears reboot. Like, maybe that could be a thing that Dan Lin and Jonathan Irich would want to do. Like, try to make a full-on Country Bears reboot. Like, something that would be far from what we've already gotten with frickin' Christopher Walken. Like, even though I'm sure a lot of people are going to miss Chris Walken just standing up going, "Oh, no! Country Bear Hall is ruined." Good God, I could do a much better impression than that. I do apologize for that. But anyways, yeah, and some people are even bringing up, like, maybe a Tiki Room movie. Maybe they would do that, or a Spaceship Earth movie. That could be possible. Who the fridge knows? But honestly, in my opinion, yeah, I just feel a little bit suspicious about this Space Mountain movie. Personally, I don't think this is gonna end well. I don't know, like, what kind of idea they would want to do. Now, personally, I have heard some people bring up a really cool idea, and maybe they would do something related to the Halloween theme of Space Mountain, and they would bring up the Ghost Galaxy, which would actually be pretty interesting, but I would highly doubt that this film would do that. But overall, I just don't know, actually. It's just, I see this idea and I just feel suspicious, and it's already a recipe for just another Disney box office bomb that people are not gonna care about and quickly forget. You know, they're just making another Tomorrowland. That's essentially the big problem with this. That's how I feel about this. They're just making another Tomorrowland. Okay, so with that said, I'd like to go into the chat wall, and I want to know what you all think. How do you feel about this Space Mountain movie? Is this something you want to get behind? Are you guys actually excited about this? Or are you all a little bit doubtful with how this movie would become? Let me know what you all think. Oh crap, I already drank all my water. Oh well. Let's see now. Did anyone really need this? While I'm not against having more movies based on rides, I don't know if this will work out considering Disney's live-action films don't have a good reputation. However, I have a feeling if the Jungle Cruise movie does not do well, then we might not get this film. Exactly! This is it! You bring up a very good point, because that's also something that I did bring up with the Haunted Mansion movie, is that the Jungle Cruise movie is really going to determine the future of these movies based on Disney rides. If the Jungle Cruise does not do well, then none of the others are going to happen. And you do bring up another good point of the fact that, like, yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea of making a Space Mountain movie, but are people really asking for a Space Mountain movie? Like, is it really a necessity? Do we need this? And that, I say, I don't know. Alright, let's see what else we got here. As I have never been in any of the Disney parks, I don't really have a thought on this. If I could go away for these news, if I could go away from these news, however, I do know about the other news from Variety about how Sean Bailey defended the Mulan remake's credits with the Chinese government entity. With the Chinese government entities involved with the Xinjiang, according to a letter was sent to Ian Duncan Smith. Yes, I have spoken about that earlier, actually, with the first story. So I did bring that up, like just briefly, but I did mention it. Let's see now. Raise a glass to the Twitch chat. Something you can never take away, no matter what they tell you. Anyways, if I would have to take a guess at what this movie would be about, it's going to feature a family going on a vacation to Disneyland, then go to Space Mountain, and it ends up being some kind of portal, and now they have to find a way back home before it's too late. You're giving this movie way too much credit. That sounds a little too creative than what they would want to do. I think really, personally, if I would have to take a shot at guessing what this could be about, I think it literally is just a family going to space and trying to dodge, like, asteroids and stuff like that. I think that's gonna be the thing. And then Space Mountain is just gonna be this big, like, spaceship thing. I don't know what the fridge is gonna happen. Anyways, okay, let's see. Oh boy, this one person is angry. Let's see now. This is a really bad idea. Making a movie about the spinning teacups at Disney World is better than this. The only good sci-fi movie Disney has ever made was Treasure Planet, Tron Legacy, the original Tron, and Atlantis, and that's about it. Every other sci-fi movie up afterwards is terrible, and this movie will get 1.5 stars and be quickly forgotten. Already, this person is just upset that Disney is doing this. The rage in the comment! Alright, anyways, really? Space Mountain? Disney is really trying to turn their rides into movies these days, since there's also Jungle Cruise, The Mansion, and a Pirates reboot. Oh yeah, that's also a thing. I almost forgot about that. Plus, how the hell do you turn Space Mountain into a movie? What's next? An Autotopia movie? A Matterhorn movie? A Phantasmic movie? Jesus, Disney, get some new ideas and stop wasting your money on this film, and this will obviously flop. Okay, I need to stop you there, and I just need to go and state something. A Phantasmic movie would be freaking epic. If there is one thing at the Disney parks that I would love to see turned into a movie, I would be so down for a freaking Phantasmic movie. I mean, come on. How awesome would that be? Like, really, that is beautiful. That would be epic. I mean, like, the whole point of Phantasmic is to see Sorcerer Mickey fight against the Maleficent Dragon. Like, come on, man. Like, just that alone is enough for me to go and buy a ticket to see that film. It's like, done. I'm checking that thing out. And especially incorporating the music of Phantasmic onto a movie, that would be great. Already, like, I could see such a massive potential onto that. Alright, I'll go and read one more comment onto this. Disney, calm down. We already have the Jungle Cruise coming in the near future, and also the Mansion. At least they have better ideas based on rides like the Phantom Manor. It has a great plot, and I think it can have a great adaptation. That could be a possibility, but then again, why don't we just let rides just be rides? I think that could be the best option there. And with that said, I think that shall conclude this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And let me just say, thank you all so much for listening, and thank you all so much for watching. It has definitely been a blast of an episode. And once again, thank you all so much for the birthday wishes that I have gotten this week. Tune in next week, and we will see more crazy madness that will ensue for this podcast. But for now, once again, I will say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes! Oops.